What was it like to share a screen and to share a space with those actors?
It was a total dream, an absolute dream. It doesn't really sink in quite until you get onto the set.
Coming up on the official Celtic FC podcast, we look back on Celtic's scintillating 6 against Aberdeen.
To make it 6, a clinical finish from all.
And Scottish actor Sean Connor joins us to talk about his career and share his memories as a lifelong Celtic supporter.
The right of me was, Sanjeev and the Naveed get up.
This is the official Celtic FC podcast.
Hello and welcome to the official Celtic FC podcast, the only podcast that gives you behind the scenes access here at Celtic Park. My name is Matthew Campbell and I'm going to be the host today. And joining me, I'm delighted to say, we have Daylin Docherty. Daylin, how are you?
Yeah, brilliant, Matt. Thanks for having me on again.
It was a wonderful weekend for Celtic across the board. We're going to get into that, get a little review of some of the matches that took place over the weekend. But before that, introduce our guests here today. This guy is an actor in Scotland whose profile is growing non-stop. He's known for his roles in River City and Still Game, as well as his ever-expanding list of theatre credits. He's a rising star of the Scottish acting scene, and I'm making him blush a little bit there by giving him that whole rundown. I'm delighted to welcome Sean Connor to the podcast. Sean, wonderful to have you here, and I hope you'll enjoy your time with us today.
Absolutely. Thanks very much for having me, mate. That was a bit.
Aye.
That was a lot, by the way. It was lovely.
Well,
Thanks very much.
I'll run through the whole list of credits later, don't worry, and give you a real redneck. But before we do that, why don't we dive in to the review of yesterday's, we're obviously recording this on Monday, yesterday's match against Aberdeen, 6-0 victory at home. It was a wonderful, wonderful team performance. Daylin, initially, just your thoughts overall on the game.
I thought it was an excellent performance from Celtic. It was really the right response after Tuesday's bitter disappointment. It was just funny that the week was 2 6-0s, wasn't it? I mean, one of bitter despair in the Champions League and one of excellent domestic bliss for the team. But yeah, they were outstanding. The only kind of issue in the game was Kyogo's injury, I think, and hopefully he's okay.
Yeah.
I know he's probably not going to travel to Japan for the international duty now, so I think that's a real bitter blow for him. Hopefully he's fine through the international break, but I know we'll touch on it. But what a performance from Lewis Palma!
Absolutely, it was sensational. Sean, I know you were at the game yesterday. You're a busy man. You've been touring non-stop recently, doing different productions. You were at the match yesterday. You were able to make it along. You must have enjoyed that.
Oh, what a game to come back to. I mean, it was total dominant performance for the get-go. It was vintage Broadsball, wasn't it? It was absolutely cracking to watch. I thought the front three were exceptional. Palma obviously gets spoken about a lot because 3 assists and 1 goal. But I thought Yang in the first half was absolutely outstanding.
I think you're right to mention Yang there, Sean. I think that's really probably the best wing play we've seen since the manager came back to the club, since the likes of Roberts and Forrest and Sinclair in those days. I thought Yang and Palma were outstanding. That first half, Yang was electric.
He was, and I actually heard Brendan Rodgers after the match talking about Yang, and he sort of singled him out because obviously he was sensational yesterday, but he was sort of saying that when Yang first came in, he's a good size, he's a threat, but in Brendan Rodgers' mind, Yang would either beat the man or lose the ball, but now he's offered more than that.
I was saying it was variety,
right. His work rate has increased. He's also getting on the end of the cross ball as well. But let's dive into it then. We'll single out some of the great performances yesterday. But first of all, I've got to say, overall, as a team performance, I thought it was excellent yesterday. 78% of possession for Celtic, 714 completed passes by the team. It was an overall wonderful performance from our boys. But let's single out, I guess, the man of the moment, Lewis Palma. Daylin, what are your thoughts on him and how he's progressing?
I just think he's been an unbelievably good signing. I think he's came into the role. Jota left the club to go to the Saudi Pro League, and there was he can leave a hole in the hearts of the Celtic fans, and we needed somebody that could come in. He came in late in the window as well and really fill that hole. 5 goals he's got for Celtic, 3 assists yesterday. I've not got his assists to hand, but he's certainly making an impact. And by the way, a lot of people Sean, as you know, there's always a thing about that number 7 jersey, and I think the fact he's a winger, has alleviated a bit of that pressure. He's playing brilliantly, and it's just a shame in a couple of weeks' time he's going to be suspended in Rome because he is playing so well. You know?
Well, you're talking about that impact that he makes. Currently, Luis Palma's racking up a 1 goal contribution, be that a goal or an assist. 1 goal contribution every 47 minutes.
Wow,
that's his numbers just now. He's playing out of his skin. Sean, he's so exciting to watch. How far do you think that this guy can go?
Well, I mean, for what we've seen already, I would say pretty far. If what we're seeing already is anything to go by, I think he seems to have a bit of everything. He's really he's got some whip into the ball. He's starting to he looks like he's growing in confidence to the point where he's starting to run at the man a wee bit more and take on the man. Brilliant delivery, and he can ping a ball.
And he loves a shot.
Loves a shot, and I love a winger that loves a shot for outside the box.
You were obviously you sit Lisbon Lions
lower, just behind the goal.
You're behind the goal. Yep. In the first half, there was a couple of times where he gets the ball, and it doesn't look initially like that's a good shooting position, but he works. He finds a yard and has a dig, and it's right in front of you.
I think he's quite similar to David Turnbull in that sense. Yeah. He takes that shot on to almost just get his range to see what he can test off the goalkeeper. I think that, like you said, Sean, he's got everything. He's maybe not got blistering pace, but he's so intelligent.
He's a big boy as well. I didn't actually realise when we'd signed him until I seen him on the pitch for the first time how quite big he is. I think that's probably where that kind of maybe lack of pace comes from. But as I said, he's grown in confidence and he's really starting to make up with it. He's taking the man on, and if he can't get by the man, then he's finding the pass. Or he's whipped like that ball for O yesterday.
I know, that was outside of the boot.
Maravchik-esque, I know it's been doing the rounds on Twitter. It's almost the same ball, but it's or X, I should say. But it's an incredible bit of skill from Palma. And you've seen it at Tynecastle as well. The ball he plays in for O'Reilly, he's got that to his game. He's got a bit of a strike on him as well. We've seen at Ross County, he can really hit a ball well, and it's going to go in his confidence as well. Absolutely. That he's now probably the penalty taker. It
was a good penalty, by the way. I've got to say, I know that sometimes there's a sort of growing feeling, I guess,
with the run up,
but with these penalties that we're not overly confident maybe at times with these pens, but I thought yesterday it was a good finish. He deserved to get the goal yesterday. Another guy, of course, getting his name on the score sheet with a brace was O. And I thought it was great to see him getting those goals. What do you think that will do for his confidence?
I think it'll be massive for his confidence, Matt. I think he just needs to really kick on now as a Celtic player. He's just not getting the starts that that probably Yakimakis could come in and do, but he's playing the role. He's coming off the bench, and the manager would have looked at that and can he make an impact, and he gets 2 goals. He done well at Ross County. He was denied probably a goal that was pretty, depends on the frame of the replay, or whether it was onside or offside. And then at St Mirren the week before, he scored a late winner, so he's certainly growing into it. He's just not getting the starts probably because of the power of Kyogo, and that's the issue with that role. But he's really going to have to kick on now. And I think there's a player there that just really needs to keep coming on, making that impact and scoring the goals. And he's certainly one to watch, I think. A young player as well.
100%. And Sean, for yourself, watching on that game yesterday, obviously it was unfortunate the injury that Kyogo picks up, and you're quite right. I think I heard the manager saying yesterday that he won't obviously now travel with the Japanese international team because he has to rest for 7 days. I think
it's a shocking challenge. It's not great to watch.
It was poor. It really was.
I know I've seen things where he's got himself in front and there's a ball there to be won, but it's a head injury. If that's 2-footed challenge, the guy's off. Totally. It's a bad one.
It looked bad from where I was sitting. I'm sure it didn't look great from where you were sitting.
I mean, for me, that actually wasn't even the contact that made me kind of go, oof. It was the way Kyogo hit the deck.
Yeah, I think he was knocked out before he actually.
It looked that way. It looked that way because he just kind of face plants the grunt.
It's great that he walked off.
I was delighted to see that.
It was awful to.
You could see the initial panic in the players as well.
I was expecting a stretcher to come in, so I was when I saw it.
But obviously, what the positive I guess that we can take is that then the guys that come on do a job. For yourself, we're talking about there, Sean. how important is it to have guys like that are coming off the bench and are able to put the ball in the back of the net?
It's massively important, and I think I totally agree with everything that Daylin said. I think I like watching him. I think he offers something different to Kyogo in terms of he's more physical. He throws his cell about a wee bit more, which is great. You know, when sometimes you're maybe needing to hold a lead and you're needing a striker up there, he can lump the ball up to and just hold up the play. And he can finish as well, and he makes good runs. Maybe not get the same pace as Kyogo, and obviously Kyogo's ridiculous, so you're not taking him out the team, which is obviously a shame for him. But every time he gets an opportunity, he's taking it by the horns, so you can't really ask for much more.
He just hasn't had much starts. I looked at prior to the Ross County game, he hadn't started since May against Hibs in a 4-2 defeat, so he hadn't started up until November, and obviously there's reason for that, and that O's got to play his part in that and try and get the manager's eye. But he's now getting in amongst the goals. I think that last goal, you know, Forrest is screaming for the ball and he's taking it on and scored himself, which I think if you're low in confidence, you maybe think about playing that pass in. But he scores the goal, he gets 2 goals on the day, and he's got obviously a bit of a thing for Aberdeen. He scores goals off the bench for them, but no, it was a really good afternoon's work for him, especially given Kyogo's injury. You've got to take that chance,
and it was a great result overall, a wonderful performance. And obviously it's the perfect way to respond from the defeat that we sustained in Europe, and also a great way to go into the international.
I heard Chris Sutton say it was 6-6 in aggregate for the week, so we'll take that.
We'll take that. They're not bad. That's absolutely right. Another good result over the weekend came for the women's team in the quarter-final of the Sky Sports Cup. They were up against Glasgow City, and obviously delighted that they managed to rack up a 3-0 victory and send themselves into the semi-final. On the score sheet for the women's team, Natalie Ross, Amy Gallagher, Kit Lefersky. It's wonderful, you know, for Fran Alonso's side. That draw for the semi-final is getting made on Thursday. They've had a great start to the season overall, and that 3-0 win over Glasgow City can only surely give them such confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, it's changed days, hasn't it? You know, I remember Glasgow City being the mentality block for Fran and his team, and they worked so hard to overcome that. You know, they've beat them earlier in the season with a last minute winner through Colette Kavanagh, and then they've won 3-0 to knock them out of the cup, to beat them so convincingly, the champions of Scotland, of course. It is changed days, and it's days that, you know, we hope that Fran and his team can continue to push forward and try and win this cup that they won a couple of seasons ago. Didn't win it last year, but they need good chance for them. They've got good records in the cup under Fran, and they've bounced back well from that defeat to Rangers, so you know, hopefully they can kick on and hopefully have another good season to remember for Fran and the girls.
Absolutely, and we'll be watching with interest to see who they draw on Thursday in the semi-final draw, and actually later this week we'll get a little chat about that game and about the season so far overall with a few of the women's team who will be joining us on the podcast later in the week. But of course, today we are absolutely delighted to have Scottish actor Sean Connor with us here in the studio for the official Celtic FC podcast. Sean, we ran through your sort of career so far quite briefly at the start of the show, but just to give our listeners and viewers a bit more of an extensive insight into who you are and what you've been up to over the last couple of years. Like I say, you're an actor who's growing in profile and whose list of credits is ever expanding right now. So far through your career, in terms of TV and film credits, we look there, we can see that you've been in River City, you appeared in Still Game as well, Anna and the Apocalypse, which was a feature film, as well as the feature film Schemers, which, if I'm not mistaken, was actually on the TV recently.
It was, yeah. TV debut on BBC Scotland on Saturday night there at 10 o'clock. So that was nice, it was good.
I'm sure people can probably catch that on the
iPlayer, I'm pretty sure they would be able to.
Out with TV and film, of course, like any good actor, this man plies his trade by treading the boards. The theatre is where he's at. His theatre credits include performing at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, the Oran Moa, the Tron Theatre, the Traverse Theatre, and you recently worked for the National Theatre of Scotland, so you're doing very well for yourself. But we want to touch, of course, on a couple of the points, or a couple of those credits that we've mentioned there. To be honest, Sean, I think the place that we'll start is with a Scottish institution, because you were you appeared in the last ever episode of Still Game, Series 9, the episode Over the Hill, the final episode of Still Game. You played the charity worker, Gary, I think the name was, Gary, in that episode. Tell us what that was like, working with those legends. You know, these are people who are household names, instantly recognisable. Everybody knows those characters as well, of Jack and Victor, Isa and Naveed. What was it like to share a screen and to share a space with those actors?
It was a total dream, an absolute dream. I mean, it doesn't really sink in quite until you get onto the set and they're all kicking about in the get up. Like I remember turning up to the set and, you know, having to get into my trailer, get my costume on, and then getting sent into makeup and walking in and sitting in the chair, and to the right of me was, you know, Sanjeev and the Naveed get up, and Greg and the Victor get up, and then I had Jane and the Isa get up right there, and it was just like sitting into that chair, and they were all so lovely. Made me feel really, really comfortable, because I think naturally, you guys will know yourself, it's like growing up with Ford and Greg's work, even chewing the fat and all that, it's almost like a kind of home comfort to so many people. So to then be sitting there and have them next to me just chatting away as if it's all normal was a bit mental, but it was total dream, total bucket list moment for me, so it was.
What did you learn from them? Any advice or nuggets that they bestowed on to you?
Advice or nuggets? I mean, one of the most mental things I think was, again, realising how big that it actually is. Remember we were on set and we've called action. So we've started a take, we're about to shoot this scene, and the scene was Greg and Ford are coming towards me and they're trying to avoid me. They get this kind of juggle ball out and they try and avoid me because I'm trying to obviously get money off them. And it was about 13, 14 takes before we managed to get it right, because we guys were just running on during takes, we're just running on and running up to Ford and Greg like that with our phones to try and get selfies just in the middle of takes. And I suppose if that taught me anything, it's patience, because it seemed as if this was something that happened absolutely everywhere they went, and that can be quite a frustrating thing. Do you know what I mean? You're doing take after take of the same thing, and it was quite a simple scene. All it was them walking towards us and then kind of getting the way by me, but it was constant. It'd be another one and then another one and another one, and the two of them never snapped, they never showed any kind of thing. Maybe they're always dead pleasant, so it was good to see that kind of, you know, nice and kind of patient and kind of have a laugh with it, I suppose.
And that professionalism of the focus. And
absolutely, professionalism.
It's one of those where, Daylin, there's no doubt, it is the biggest Scottish television show of all time. I guess maybe people would argue Taggart or something would rival it, but let's be honest here, how many people are walking about day to day quoting Taggart, for example? Still Game's the show. I mean, I
think it's like it's so weird, because in my home it's one of those things, if I can't find anything to watch, it's almost like it plays the role of Friends in my home, right? Still Game is like the one where I put on the TV, you know, if there's nothing else on and you have a laugh, you almost forget about the early stuff. It's hilarious, some of the stuff, and like you have a similar age, Sean, you that grew up with that, and to share a stage with, share a set with them, it must have been, as you say, surreal. But it's brilliant.
It must have been a great thrill when that, you know, series was released and that episode came on. What was that like, sitting down to? Obviously, you're an actor. You've watched yourself back. You've had received notes in rehearsals or whatever. But was there an extra buzz because it was Still Game when you sat and watched it back? Was there an extra thrill?
100%, 100%. I think actually, as well as that, I think because it was the last ever episode, I think the viewing figures for that one episode compared to the rest of the season it was astronomical.
Can you give us an idea of what that would look like, or were you told that?
It was in the millions. I'm pretty sure there was like a few million more viewers for that one, from what I'd heard. And obviously when you're there and you're doing it, it's great, but you're trying to be professional, keep the heat on, get everything done, don't pure fanboy over them too much, you know what I mean? So it's very different when you actually see it on screen and you see it kind of come to life, and to see myself in scenes with these people that, as you say, I've kind of grown up with all my life, was magical. Fantastic. Proper magical moment, so it was.
It's wonderful to hear those stories as well, you know, what a buzz that must have been to share, obviously, the set with them. In terms of away from TV and film, of course, Sean, having a look at the credits list, the majority of your work in the acting world has come in theatre so far, which is a totally different, not a different skill set, but a different experience, I guess, of being on a film set, because Sean's talking about the 13 and 14 takes to maybe get it right. Sean will know himself, when he's on stage, he's got one chance to get it right. It's right there in the moment. That can be the thrill of it, I guess, as well. Recently, Sean, you were touring the play Moorcroft with the National Theatre of Scotland in association with the Tron Theatre. I went along to see Moorcroft. It was performing through in Cumbernauld. Sold out performance that night, as the majority of those shows on the run were. To just give you a little brief overview of what the show Moorcroft was about. It was about a football team. I think it was set in the 1980s.
1989, yeah.
1989, and it focused on the individual struggles of each of the players within the team. It's a true story. It dealt with a lot of different issues, men's mental health, lack of opportunities, different afflictions and addictions and so on. What I found utterly striking when I came along to see the show was that there was a number of people within that theatre who were quite openly discussing, and you could hear them talking about the fact that they'd never been to a theatre before, but because of the subject matter, being a football related play, that's such a popular theme, I guess, that they'd come along to see that. Sean, what was that show like to be a part of? It seemed like such a powerful part that you were playing in it as well.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, it's the most it's the most special show that I've ever been a part of. I think getting the opportunity to tell that kind of overwhelmingly working class story, it being a true story as well, kind of added a lot more pressure onto it. And I remember when I first got the part, because obviously the writer and director Ailey Lone, it's about her dad's experiences. So we ended up kind of quite close with the family through that, and we ended up meeting some of the boys who actually played in that real football team. They all came to see the show, and it was that you kind of had a feeling of, you're not just doing this. This isn't just a job. You're not just doing this for, this is your next job and then on to your next one. It felt like you were telling a story that really needed to be told, and kind of bringing the real boys that were part of the story, bringing their kind of story to life. And a lot of the things that they would say to us after they'd seen the show initially for the first time were really quite emotional and really quite hard to take, because these were kind of boys who've never seen themselves represented on screen or on a stage before. And that's exactly what the show set out to do, and it's exactly what it did in the end. I mean, the response to it was overwhelming. I think we'd done 2 full runs at the Tron Theatre, never done a show without getting a standing ovation, and that was the exact same on the tour as well. So I mean, if we ever do it again and we don't get a standing ovation when we get a bit of a shot. But yeah, it's such an important story. So to have the opportunity to kind of tell that, and I think that the biggest thing about it, and I think why it connects with so many people so well, is because it's so relatable to a number of people, and it's people who maybe don't see their own lives on screen. And I think that the main kind of message of it is, I mean, it was all about how, football can uplift you. Football's such a massive part of working class communities, and it's such a big thing for, it's life for a lot of people. And obviously the kind of the mental health angle of it, the kind of big message in there is, talk to your mates as much as you possibly can, and make sure everybody's all right, because obviously with it being set in 1989, the kind of whole idea of it was that they never spoke, and so they never knew. And that caused a lot of problems for these young boys. Obviously, we live in a time now where, the stigma around it and kind of talking about it more is on the up, which is a wonderful thing. But there's still a lot of stuff that was in the show, a lot of the subject matter that was in the show that I think is still quite prevalent today. And so that's why I think it's such an important story. So to be a part of that and to be able to tell that story was an unbelievable experience, and it's still probably one of my favourite, and especially theatre, my favourite job that I've done to this date. It's
they're good words, really good words, and it is so important. But more than that, Daylin, as well, I think also the accessibility of it. I think there's at times maybe an idea that certainly I think maybe amongst working class people of theatre is, I wouldn't go to the theatre. Theatre's not for me. That show or that performance that night, being there myself to go and see it, it really was a sort of eye opener for me as well. Looking around the audience and just seeing how important that can be a show that people can relate to, performances that people can relate to as well.
Well, I think I said to you the other night, Matt, I think the Tron, the first time we'd done it last February, the Tron had done a survey of everybody that had came to see the show, and the results of the survey were that 55% of the people that came through the Tron's doors to watch it had never been to a theatre show before in their entire life.
Wow.
Which is mental. I think that's exactly what Ailey set out to do with the show, was to try and bring theatre to people who, as you say, would maybe think, oh, maybe it's not for me. But it just proves that if you put stories that are relatable to these people, they will come. Yeah. They will come, they will buy a ticket, and they will sit down and watch it, and they'll be affected by it.
The subject matter just really resonates
Absolutely.
with the public.
Yeah.
I've got to say as well, the soundtrack for the show was superb.
It's
also, with Joy Division, the Jam, it was excellent, absolutely fantastic. It was a great performance. Obviously, you've done quite a bit of theatre work. What's your favourite venue that you've ever performed in?
Oh, that's tough.
Because you've had most of the big ones in Scotland, I guess. So out of all of them, what would your favourite venue that you've ever performed in?
Do you know what? I'd have to say the Tron. The Tron. I think the Tron is an outstanding space. It's a really good size. The acoustics in it are great. For me, if I'm ever going to see a theatre show, I would want to be in the first or second row, right? Because you want to be in it. And I think the Tron, the way the space is, it kind of creates that from anywhere you are, you feel like you're quite involved. I think that's where good theatre kind of really hits home, is if you really feel almost involved in it, or you feel invested in it. I think the Tron creates that. Just the way that it's laid out creates that quite well. It's a lovely space to play as well, so I would always go back to the Tron. In fact, the Tron, funnily enough, was the first I'd ever done.
Oh, really?
So Moorcroft last February was my first ever professional theatre job. Wow. So it was.
So it's always going to be a bit of a special place.
It's a wee special place.
It's a strong theatre culture in Glasgow, and it's clearly in safe hands. Guys like Sean who are speaking so passionately and with such, I guess, power on some of this subject matter. So Sean, what comes next then? What's up next on your agenda?
Next job for me is I'm actually, buzzing. I'm going to Sydney Festival with a show. So we done a show called Ode to Joy at the Fringe last year, which went down really, really well. We won a Fringe First Award, and it sold out every single show. And then found out kind of a couple of months ago that Sydney Festival were wanting it for the January programme.
Well, I just slipped that in there. We sold it every show. I seem to try to slip that in there quietly.
That's what's next. 3rd of January we start rehearsals for that.
Fantastic.
And then we're flying out. And that's the first time that's the first time I've done a job anywhere that isn't the UK.
Oh really? Yeah.
And I'm going that far away, so
you've never been out there before?
No, never been that far. So I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, it's
that's the best thing about jobs like that, isn't it? It's you're basically, it's a vocation for you.
Absolutely.
But you're actually you're going to end up seeing parts of the world that
100%.
you would never ever see usually, and I think like it grows you as a person as well. Going to places like Sydney and Australia, like how often would you ever get to go?
Well, rarely, very, very rarely. And I think, look, it's no, whether I'm doing it in Glasgow or I'm doing it in Sydney or I'm doing it in wherever. It's no really. It doesn't feel like work to me. Do you know what I mean?
That's the best thing about it.
It's what I'm passionate about, and it's what I love to do. So it never really feels like work, whether I'm in Easterhouse or Adelaide. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, from Easterhouse to Adelaide, John Connor's story. There we go.
That's your autobiography right there.
That's the headline. Sean, have you got any big ambitions? You've done a lot of the big sort of Scottish theatre gigs. Play a Pie in a Pint, for example, the Fringe. Yep. You've been in Still Game. You've done all these. You get any big ambitions in the acting game?
Well, I'd love to. I want to get to a point where I'd love to do big theatre in London. I'd love to work for the National Theatre at some point in my life, and kind of really take, because it's a totally different type of pressure down there. It's huge, but it's a challenge that I think that I'd love to kind of relish in. And in terms of film and TV, I just want to work with the best directors. Yeah, I'd love to work with Shane Meadows at one point. Yeah, This Is England, Dead Man's Shoes. Always been a massive fan of him. And if there was ever an actor that I would kill for the chance to work with, it would be Stephen Graham. I think he's absolutely exceptional. I think even though he's worked with Scorsese now, he's criminally underrated. And I just think he's an outstanding actor, and I'd love to just get the chance to even if it was even just a scene, just to stand and watch him and just learn from him. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of my main ambition, is to kind of keep going the way I'm going, and hopefully get to a point where I'm working with the best directors in the game, and I'm working with the best actors in the game, and just shoot for the top.
Well, I'm sure you'll achieve that. And if Shane Meadows or Stephen Graham happen to be watching or listening to the official Celtic FC podcast, get in contact with Sean and get him called up. Now, Sean, you're obviously, as well as being a wonderful young actor, you're a Celtic supporter, which is always good, and you're a Celtic season ticket holder. So we'll round up the podcast today. Well, I must say, by the way, I thought that was really quite interesting. Some of the insight that Sean's given us there into the acting world. But let's get it back to the football world, the Celtic world. You are pretty much the same age as myself and Daylin. A lot of your memories as a Celtic supporter will be quite similar to ours. It's a very broad question, and I know it's a bit unfair. So don't sweat it too much. But growing up, coming through, what's your favourite memory as a Celtic supporter?
Well, I always go back to, I have a very recent one, and then obviously I have a kind of much older one for when I was wee. I always remember the 2-1 against Barca.
Yeah.
Always remember that game because, how could you forget it? But also, growing up, I think, when was that? 2013, so I must have been about...
I think it was 2012,
2013.
Yeah.
So I was young anyway, and I always remember watching that game. Sadly, I wasn't here, but I remember watching that game in the house. And obviously Tony Watt scores that goal. Me and my dad nearly got through the coffee table. It was mental. But that for me was like, this is what football's all about.
Yeah.
Just the total magic of the unexpected, and the complete magic of the unexpected.
It was an incredible night. That it
unbelievable.
It was so emotional.
Like you, Sean, I wasn't there either.
Yeah.
It's one of my saddest
moments
of being a Celtic
sorry to
support.
rub it in, boys, but actually, for the actual fact, I was there. I started the programme. I remember that night.
Nobody likes a show off, Matt.
I know, I'm sorry. Listen, you've got to let me get in somewhere here. But there was an old guy, an old man that sat in front of me at that point in time. And so obviously Tony Watt scores the second goal, the place goes crazy. And then Lionel Messi gets his goal as he had to.
Yeah.
And sparks the longest 5 minutes of any Celtic supporter's life. But of course we got over the line, it's 2-1. Immediately the final whistle goes, the tears were just, they were instant. And I don't mind admitting that, I was in floods of tears. And this old chap who I had never really spoken to, I go to the games with my dad, my brother, and he sat in front of us at the point, never really spoken to him. He turned round and he was also crying, and immediately we just embraced, and we were all the way down the stairs out the stadium, we're crying, and we never spoke about that ever again. We never ever spoke about it ever again. But then I've outed him here right here on the podcast. It was a wonderful night. You're right to bring it up, and you can even look at everyone. We were smiling, talking.
I remember as well. I was so, because Barcelona were like the greatest ever side in the world at that time,
That's
and maybe ever. And I remember at the time I was in my living room in my parents' house with my friend at the time, and I remember when we got the corner kick and Charlie Mulgrew putting the ball down, and I was like, I just can't believe we got a corner against them.
God,
and then we scored from it.
1 year.
I know, it's incredible, man. It was just a wonderful night, and as you say, that's the magic of football. It's just been a shame it's not
the magic of Celtic.
been often
it's
since,
absolutely.
but it's been that was outstanding on Celtic's birthday as well. It was just meant to be.
That was excellent. I'm assuming that's your more recent memory, is that right, or is that your?
Well, I've even another more recent one for that.
What's your more recent
for being
one?
like a kind of for being an adult,
Yeah,
I suppose. The 3-0 against in Angie's first season, against Rangers, the midweek game.
Yeah, that's right. Under the lights.
Honestly, that was one of the most raucous games I've ever been at, and it kind of at a time where, we just beaten Ross County. We just got the last one.
We'd beaten Dundee United, and Rangers had dropped points.
We were chasing them down that season, and this was a chance to go top.
Aye, and I remember just to kind of think about that pressure. That was a chance to kind of, obviously with a setback the previous season, and he kind of leapfrog them again, and to go out and play like that and just absolutely blow them away was incredible.
I think what makes that, obviously the lights in the night, what that game, for me, I remember that was for a lot of people, for Celtic fans in the stadium that night, that was us returning to Celtic Park after the pandemic. I thought that was the first big night since the pandemic where we had no fans in the stadium, and that was like Celtic Park was back.
Absolutely packed to the
You're
rafters.
Raucous is the word. I mean, it was like a pressure cooker in there that night. you know, those nights you just turn up to Celtic Park and you know before the first ball was kicked.
Yeah.
We're winning this game.
Aye.
It was one of those nights, and it's one of those unforgettable ones. You can almost, if you shut your eyes, you can still hear the noise that night when Rio obviously scores.
It's funny you
Rio got a
mentioned
brace and a bada, wasn't
It's
it?
a bit when
it was funny you mentioned that Moravchik-esque. And I remember when he scored the second to Tati,
That's
and he just
right.
turns round and kind of looks, and it's exactly like
Exactly.
Moravchik when he scored his first one against
That's right, against Rangers.
against
like-
Rangers. Aye.
It was
Just total disbelief. What
What is
have I
this?
walked into here? Aye, it totally reminded me of that. So
It's the part when Abada scores and the place is still going crazy from Tati's goal. There's videos going around the fans that haven't even caught the goal because they're still celebrating the second goal.
Yeah.
That's for me, that is it's a very, very good memory to have. It's
100%,
and it was that release since
Absolutely.
the pandemic. I thought
Aye.
you talk about mental health and people going through such a hard time. It lifted so many people, and we've not looked back since.
Well, this is it. You're totally right. It's a good point to finish on as well there, because it's the whole thing of, we're talking about the importance of theatre, the importance of football, which is, to all intents and purposes, to my mind anyway, the people's theatre coming to a football match. You know, there's always good and bad, heroes and villains in a football match. That night was so special, but overall, like the overall point that you make, Daylin, is absolutely spot on. It's such an important thing, people coming to the games and that outlet and being able to sort of enjoy themselves for that 90 minutes or so. So no, definitely good point, and some fantastic memories shared there, Sean, as well. Listen, we'll round up. We don't have any game coming up to
Unfortunately. It's the
preview.
international break.
Absolutely, and how weird is this?
we've qualified.
We've qualified, so it's kind of like whatever.
You know, the most unbothered international break we've ever had. Haaland's coming to Glasgow and we don't care.
Absolutely. Haaland's coming and there's
It's the
nothing
one
but
game
shrugs.
I've got tickets to now. Oh, there we go.
Well, I'm sure you'll enjoy it.
Oh, I will.
Sean, thank you very much for
Thank
joining
you
us
very
today.
much, man.
It's been brilliant to hear from you.
Before I go, if I can, I
Yes.
just need to say a wee shout out to Barhead St Mary's Supporters Club,
Yes.
the best supporters club in the world.
Absolutely.
Had to get that in there.
Good
so I
for
did.
you. Fantastic stuff. Big shout out to those guys. Thank you very much, Sean. Best of luck. Be sure to send pics from Sydney. Let us know how you're getting on.
I will do.
Good time of year to go as well.
I'm
Sean.
not too bad. Slap bang in the middle of summer, I know.
Absolutely brilliant stuff.
Take sun cream.
Thank you as well for
No
joining
problem.
us.
It's great to be here.
And we will be back later in the week. Be sure, as always, to like, follow, subscribe the podcast, and whatever you get up to for the rest of the week. Enjoy yourself. Stay safe. Thank you very much, and hail, hail.